Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, and perhaps even good evening. Thank you so much for dropping by and joining me for another exciting session of the 3D Shenanigans. Mr. Brian is here twice in one day. How cool is that? Miss Julia is here. The Miss Camilla is here. Welcome back from your trip in Ireland. That sounds really nice. I'm glad you had a good time. It's always been on my list of things to visit, but it never happened just yet. But life is still with us. So there we go. Art of Art just has to put another quarter into his. Whoops. Hello. Something behind me just fell. I don't know what that was, but that's, let's not worry about that. The Art of Art has to put a couple of quarters into his laptop. And everyone else who's out there, thank you so much for being here and joining me on a sunny Saturday afternoon. It's, yes, I've got something planned today. Do we have music, first of all? Yep, we have a little bit of music. That's good. I don't want to make it too loud. It's by the wonderful Franz Gordon. That's what we're listening to today. And I was thinking of building a little scene like this, a little bit like that. So this is something that came out of Midjourney, but I was inspired by a TV show. Oops, hello. Mr. J's not here. Mr. J's back. There we go. Ain't no sunshine, Ascania. What a shame. What a shame. Welcome, though. Welcome all the same. Ain't no sunshine where you are. What a shame. Sunny enough for the both of us where I am. I'm going to try today to make a scene a little bit like this. This was inspired by a TV show we've watched recently, which was Ridley with Adrian Dunbar. And he's a recent widower and he lives in a location a bit like this. And there's also one that was done. I'll show you that in Photoshop here. This is what that looked like. This was also Midjourney, and this is a little trick I wanted to share with you in the latest version of the Photoshop beta. So aside from obviously my logo, which let's not worry about the logo. There we go. This came out square, much like this image here. So if I go and save this out or just copy it, then I can show you how Photoshop can literally extend that. This is a new beta feature in Photoshop. It's really, really cool. Let me go and show you how to do that. So I'm going to make a new document, just the square dimensions, and I'll paste the image in that I want to extend. And I'm thinking, hey, if I want to turn this into a YouTube thumbnail, then that really needs to be kind of 16 by 9, or maybe there's other, maybe I want to make it portrait and I need some more trees at the top, and Photoshop Beta can make that happen. I'm going to go and grab my background layer and delete it. I'll leave this layer as the only thing that is available, and then I'll switch over here to my crop tool. And you think, well, cropping, isn't that to make images smaller? And that's kind of correct, but in Photoshop it's also about extending the outer areas of the image. So if I go and switch to that, I can go and then left click and drag this out, or if I hold down Alt, then I can extend it into both directions. And if I wanted to make it really landscape and cinematic, I could do something like this, and then I just let go, and then Photoshop adds these transparent bits and pieces on the left and the right. But lo and behold, we still have our generative text box into which I could now type what I want there to appear, like whatever, motorway, or monsters in the forest, or I could do nothing and just click generate. And that's kind of the whole magic behind it. It goes and thinks about it for a moment, and then it literally goes and looks at the image content and then turns the left and right, turns all the transparent bits and pieces into stuff that would seamlessly integrate with that. So this is very crazy, because when I saw that for the first time, you think, I'm sorry, what? You did what there? And yeah, so that works. I have no idea what it actually looks at, and sometimes it doesn't exactly get it right, but usually the blended in pieces, they look pretty cool. So it's done a soft blend here, and it still utilizes the underlying image, so that kind of blends in seamlessly with that. And it's kind of fascinating when you see this working, and it's just I can't get enough of it. Yeah, so that is you can do that. So now I can go back to my crop tool here and say, well, if I didn't want for this tree to be in there, I can go and make it smaller like this, and then you've got the image that you've always wanted. And there we go, and that's kind of that would now be closer to the YouTube thumbnail that I probably want. Isn't that amazing? It's just so cool. And you can do that with any kind of image. It's so funny, isn't it? Yeah, so those are going to be my reference pictures, and I don't know if I can just import them into Unreal Engine, but I'll try that out. So I'll go and take this one, and I'll call that one maybe non-foggy bench. And then I can, the other one I've already exported here, so I don't think I need Photoshop anymore. But yeah, and imagine you just go, and I don't know what this is going to do to things like image textures and stuff. It's very, very cool. I'm going to leave it open just in case we wanted to play with this again. Actually, it's not a filter. It's what is it? It's not a filter. It's called the generative expand tool. So it's something that integrates with all these new AI tools that they have. So that's the scene I want to build in Unreal Engine. And I'm going to use a pack that I've used for the Venice set, but just for the interstitials there, for the little bit of foliage and stuff. So I'm going to use that. I was thinking of, maybe I can show you that as well, actually. I was thinking of using the water plugin for Unreal Engine, but that is very unstable and a little bit buggy. It's essentially the Fortnite water. So I might not use that because it's a bit unstable, and also it's overkill for what I'm trying to do. So let's see what we can do there. It's basically, there's no link for it. Is if you're a Photoshop subscriber, you can go into your Creative Cloud app and then go to beta apps, and then you can install the beta version of Photoshop, and that installs itself side by side with the release version of Photoshop, which currently doesn't have that feature yet. But the beta version, everyone who has access to Photoshop has access to that. Yeah, it also has these cool new remove tools and all that. So all the AI tools are very, very exciting. Like describe an image as well. It's a bit like a mini Midjourney inside Photoshop. So you can mark a place and then say, I'd like to have a deer head hanging from that spot. And it just goes plonk deer head. And then you have several choices. And that doesn't work great, but remove works amazing. And this expand is unbelievable. That for promo images, Camilla, can you imagine? Ooh. Yeah, so very exciting. When I discovered that, I was thinking, whoa, that's exciting. I might go and start with a third-person project here, just in case I want to bring in a character. I'm going to go use Scalable. And I'm going to go and put this, I think, also into my animations folder that I've made there last time. And I will call this one Foggy Bench. I don't know how foggy it's going to be yet, but let's see. Let's see. Oh yeah, so the asset pack I'm going to use is called the Meadow Environment Set. It's currently on sale. I got it free a couple of years ago. If you are picking up regular Unreal Engine freebies, you're probably going to be familiar with it. I'm going to use all the little meshes in there and then do a bit of sculpting with the landscape tool, put sort of like a lake in, and then, you know, then that is that. That's pretty good already. Oh yeah, no, one other thing, I want to go and remove the sky sphere. This, if the outliner is coming up with this and you want to collapse it all, it's on here, it's on this gear icon. You can say collapse all, and then, you know, everything's kind of neat and tidy. In lighting, if ever you have this in Unreal Engine 5.2, you don't really see much of a sky and you get this message here. That's the SM sky sphere that nobody wants, so you just take that away and then the sky looks much, much nicer. There. That's that, and I think that's all I'm going to do for now. Do you know, I'm actually happy to show you the water plugin in principle because it is kind of cool. It just requires an engine restart. We're not going to use it, but I'll show you what it does because it is kind of cool. It's a beta plugin, so it's under Edit Plugins, and you can search for water. And there's these two things here, water and the water experimentals. They warn you that this could be withdrawn at any time. It's totally unstable and mega beta, and you don't really want to use it. And then you go, oh yeah, great, let's go ahead and do that. That sounds exciting. And then you have to restart because it has to recompile things. And then in the meantime, I'll go and add my asset pack to this as well. So yeah, Meadow Environment Set by Nature Manufacture, they're called. Into Foggy Bench. Perfect. 2.6 gigabytes. It's got material, it's got all kinds of stuff, so it's good stuff. Well, that's what I mean. In case you have a really good looking kind of square picture and you needed it to extend to the top, so it's worth a try. It's worth a try. Yeah, it's a good one. I know that there's are very strict about you can't include any AI generated textures in projects. And I can see where they're coming from, but at the same time, I have a feeling several developers are going to do it over the years, because that's just, that's just what the new big thing. And nobody is as good as generating a quick nondescript logo as things like Midjourney and those types of things. So also the question is, will they be able to notice when that happens? I think as long as you don't overdo it. This is something we need to pay attention to. Add entry to default ini. This has to do with the water collision feature. If I wanted to make something bob up and down on the water, I think I have to do and click this. Otherwise, I can't click the profile later. But that's just that. So third person map, I'll go and save it. I'm going to go and create myself a new level, basic blank level, in which we also see the SM Sky Sphere. So I want to go and remove that here. And then under lit, I'm going to go and undo the game settings, and I'll maybe put that to minus 0.5, so that looks a little bit nicer. So the water plugin, let me show you quickly what that is and how it works. So it's essentially the Fortnite water, and the way that works is I'm going to go and save my current level as, I might make a new folder here called maps. I'll call that here water plugin demo, perhaps. So the water plugin interacts with landscapes and kind of bends them. So I need a landscape object to begin with, and that is over here under landscape mode. It comes up with, you can pick a size here. I'm going to go and pick maybe the 31 quad size here, so that's kind of medium scale, and it needs to have layers enabled here, but that happens by default. And then you just click that, and then you can start working on the landscape. I'm not going to go sculpt. I'm going to just go and come out of here and just give it a nice sandy little material. So on here, this is my this is my meadow environment set, has some good materials, landscape materials on here. Maybe we'll go with this one here, soil is good, and that goes into here. It takes a second, and then we have something like a sandy underground in a moment. There we go. If I go and come closer, then this is kind of sand here. So landscape is a large piece of geometry. And then if I go zoom out, and I'll go and bring in, I can either maybe go and place my actors panel here on the left hand side. Then I can search for water, and there's all kinds of things that I can drag in now. And I think if we go and bring in an ocean, that's probably going to be the best demo. So left click and drag the ocean in, and you'll see that it's got this this outline here in the middle, and then it takes a moment, and eventually, maybe I should have made a larger landscape here. Eventually, there we go, we've got something like this. And that's now basically the Fortnite water surrounding my world, and it extends to literally everywhere. And it's got a nice water effect on it, and that's cool water. It also has that post-process volume built in, so if I were to go diving, then it turns this on into something like a dark blue. So if I had geometry underneath here, then I could see that. It's quite nice. So I think my landscape was a little bit too small. If I go and make my island smaller, I think I can do that with these spline points here. So the magic is literally spline points for everything. So this could be a nice beach here. And notice how the landscape material is being manipulated by the water. So it used to be flat, and now the water is at that level, and now it kind of goes down here with the splines, and that's that's kind of nice. So effect isn't bad, but it's also not exactly what I can use for my scene. So I'm not gonna use that. I might just go put this to 0, so it's not quite as bright, and we can see a little bit more detail. So the splines is really the name of the game. So I can now go and grab a lake and put that into the inside of my landscape, like say here. And once again, it takes a moment. And the landscape is being manipulated by that. We can still see the floor here. So let me go and take that out. Floor we don't need. Floor Gonski. Yeah, and now there's a little lake in here. And if you look closely, this is exactly, it looks a bit like the cartoony type water effect that you get in Fortnite. It's very interesting. This might not be deep enough, but hey, you get the picture. And the funky thing is, there is a thing called the water zone in here, and that inside of which water can be rendered. So outside of which, that's kind of a trick, but inside of the water zone, water can be rendered. But because it's all spline based, you can go and connect it together. So you also have something like a river that you can drag out, and then if it connects from one water body to the other, then it'll go and notice that and just basically makes that, combines the two. That is kind of cool. And you can go and swoosh this up or down and, you know, create all kinds of crazy good effects here. I'll go take the actors panel away, and there's actually flow in here. So this isn't a good transition, so we can work on that. But in principle, the river now flows from the source out into the ocean, and I didn't really have to do anything. It just goes and, you know, it just goes and does that. So yeah, there's this ways to make this transition better, and I've seen really good ways of it mixing that. I of course have no real idea how to use it. So that's my first idea, to build my little scene around a lake like this, but it means there's a lot of overhead and things aren't very stable, so I'm not going to use that effect. I just wanted to show you this because it's kind of cool to play with, and you know, now I can go ahead and scale up or down my landscape and start building things with palm trees and put other river bits in there. So like, you know, another river, water body river. See if we can put another one in here. Oh, there we go. Good stuff. And because it's all spline point based, I believe if you were to find them, you can go and extend them and add to them and things like that. It's very, very neat. I just have no idea how to use it. So if and when I learn it, I will totally let you know more. It's a cool tool, isn't it? It's good to know about, and it's currently in beta. So considering it's completely free, it's not bad at all. And I'm imagining that they're gonna improve it over time. And of course, like professional water plugins cost like $350, and if you can get this for free, not bad. This doesn't do wave effects very well. I think they're there, but it's kind of, you know, it's a bit of a tricky thing to do. But yeah, very cool. Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't look at the chat. Make fun of me all you like. Something else I wanted to show you that is something that Brian was using Unreal Engine earlier, and I was thinking I can show you some quick tips that I wish I had known when I started fiddling with Unreal Engine, because, you know, I didn't. Something relating to groups, and also just things that I think are just, you know, are kind of cool. I'm gonna go and put this to something slightly brighter again. There we go. So one thing that we did earlier was how to scale objects, and Brian had a room that he wanted to scale, and I'm going to make a similar room to that. I'm going to go and select my walls here. I hold down Shift to do that, and then, like you've already discovered, Q, W, E, and R is much like these little tools up here, and I think that's the same in iClone here. So there's selection, there's transform, rotation, and scale, and I'm going to go and just scale these guys up here, and I'm going to go and use the blue thing for that. Left click and drag, so that becomes kind of a room here. Maybe it's a bit tall, but that's kind of our room here. And then maybe I'm going to go and select the floor and go back to my selection or transform tool. And if I don't want to do that, if I'm not a WER or QWER person, I can also press the space bar to cycle through that. So that goes from transport to rotate to scale. So that is also possible. And then you can hold down Alt, left click and drag, and that makes a duplicate of what you've got selected, and then it moves it away. So this could be my roof. I can go and rename that here, either by just selecting it and waiting a second and selecting it again. I can call that the roof, or I can press F2. That also goes and renames it. So one thing we had earlier was groups. Groups are kind of helpful, but they're also a little weird in Unreal Engine. So let me show you how groups work. So in our case, I'm going to have the roof. I'm going to go and shift select the other bits and pieces here. So the walls, and then the floor, and that could be my room. So shift select this, and then go and then shift select the floor at the bottom. And that's now all the pieces of the room selected. And if I wanted to turn that into a group, I can go and either right click on this and head over to group, and then that groups it, or I can press Ctrl G, that'll do it. And that'll create this group actor object in my scene, but it's not really visible, and it's a kind of a proxy object, and it behaves a little bizarre because things aren't really parented underneath it, but everything is now together. So if I select one actor here, and it doesn't matter which one, they're all selected, and this whole thing moves as one unit. And that's kind of cool. So for our scaling exercise, that worked really well, almost, because it basically scales them from their individual pivot points. And if you do it multiple times, the objects actually break. So I'm glad it worked for you earlier, because it can also go horribly wrong. Brian was trying to rename the group actor, and the group actor object behaves slightly differently from all the other objects. Now I can't seem to rename it, so I can't press F2, and I can't left click and wait for it. It just doesn't work. But there's a trick, there's a workaround that we can employ, and that's we can search for the group actor's name in the outliner. I'm just going to call it, I'm just going to search for group, and then once the search has filtered it down, I can select it, then press F2, and then I can rename it. So my room, for example. Don't ask me why that is. The moment I go out of the filtering, it is now my room, but I still can't rename it when it's not filtered. So don't know if it's a bug. It's been like that for many years from what I gather. It's one of those things. So yeah, that's how you can do that. So by default, when you select one of these actors, everything is selected, and you might not always want that. You might just want to select a single one. And there's a couple of ways that we can do that. One way is to right click on the whole selected group, and under groups, you can say unlock. Ungroup would, remove the group actor and turn them into separate objects again. Unlock will do kind of what you'd expect. You can now select a single one and then do something with them, and let light in the room or something like that, or remove it or whatnot. And then when you go back to groups, you can go and lock the group again, and then it behaves again like the single selectable object. So that's one option. The other option about groups is that you can head over here to settings and temporarily switch off allow group selection. So if you disable that, that's Shift Control G or Control Shift G, then we have a similar state, but the group itself remains. It's now grayed out. It can't be selected anymore. And each object is now a separate object again until you go back into settings and enable allow group selection. And then that happens again. So, a little bit weird, but I thought I'd bring it to your attention just because, it's one of those things. So I might go and ungroup my objects at which point the whole group actor goes away. And I'll go and delete my roof, and then I can go and let light into it again. Something else that might be interesting is the pivot point, where that appears, and if ever you needed to change that. It's a little bizarre, but you get used to it. If you select multiple objects like I just had here, if I just select all the walls, then the last selected object gets the pivot point. But if I wanted to remove that or move that to somewhere else, you can Alt middle click and then move it to where you want it. But that's temporary. So if you wanted to move that here, now it's, now the pivot point is here, until you select something else, and then it kind of snaps back. If you wanted to make that permanent, you can do that, and then right click, head over to pivot, and then say set pivot offset as pivot offset, and then that kind of locks it in. So that kind of saves it, and reset would reset it, just in case you ever needed to do that. One other thing that I wish I had known about are bookmarks, and they're really, really helpful when it comes to looking at your scenes from different angles all the time for checking things. So like, I'm going to go make these walls a little bit smaller again. And let's say this is my super important scene, and I wish I could always look from here and then quickly look from here and then quickly go back to this again. And that's where bookmarks come in handy. They are happening by literally pressing the 1 to 0 keys on your regular keyboard. So this is one bookmark, this is another. We've got a couple set up by default, but you can have up to 10, which is kind of nice. They live up here on this little menu here, the hamburger icon under bookmarks. Jump to bookmark 1 is like press the number 1. Jump to bookmark 2 is press the number 2. And then set bookmarks we can do with control and the number, and we can clear them all. So if I go over here, and this could be my first bookmark, I say control 1, and then I go over here and say control 2, and then maybe I also want to look at this from an overhead point of view, control 3, and then I can go 1, 2, and 3, and that's really, really convenient to basically just look at your scene while you're building it, so you don't have to constantly move with the camera. And you know, I wish they would teach you this when they tell you about Unreal Engine. One of those things. Groups are cool yet janky. That is exactly what they are. Good feature, right? And it's one of those things that everyone talks about navigation and all that. Why not talk about bookmarks, man? You gotta let people know about this. It's such a good feature. Anyway, yeah, navigation we've already talked about. I think there's one thing that's actually been improved in 5.2 that I really, really appreciate, and I wish 5.1 had that. So WASD will do the walking around navigation while you click the right mouse button. So right mouse button lets you look around. Left mouse button lets you look left and right and go forward and back. It's a little janky, and I don't really tend to use that. But it's, you know, it's kind of cool. So I always hold down the mouse button, the right mouse button, and then do W, A, S, and D. But sometimes as you get further away from your scene, you want to navigate a little faster. And as you get to detail work, you want to navigate a little bit slower. And you can do that while moving around by scrolling down your mouse wheel. And have a look at this number up here. You used to be able to click into that and then give it numbers, but you can also scroll down your mouse wheel to make that faster or slower. So scrolling it down makes it slower, scrolling it up makes it faster. So, you know, that's just sometimes really confusing to you know, how to make that as slow as possible as you get into the area that you want to navigate around. And they've now introduced this feature that while you scroll, you actually see the numeric value of what's of how fast your scroll speed multiplier is. And I find that very helpful, because in 5.1 it was always a bit of a guessing game where you didn't quite know how fast you were going until you really tried it out and usually missed the mark and stuff. So yes, keep an eye on for that value as you move around, then you know how far you need to scroll forward and back. MRU Studios, how's it going? Happy belated birthday! Good to see you, buddy. I'm just talking about some cool Unreal Engine features. Let me go and move this guy back. I'm going to go and duplicate it. Alt, left click and drag to duplicate that. And while we're moving something, hold down Shift, and then the camera scrolls with it to your new location. So that's really nice if you need to move this to a really, really far place. So that's really, really cool. I'm going to just go move that here and press F on the keyboard to literally zoom in on that object. Alt, left click and drag will rotate around the object. And there's one other thing that is good to know about as you work with larger scenes. Sometimes you select an object that's relatively small, like the cube, and then other times you select an object that's relatively large, like a whole rock wall, like 50 feet tall. And Unreal Engine has an option that lets you choose the scroll speed depending on the size of the object, and that is of course disabled by default. And that makes it really easy if you jump from small objects to large objects, so that you don't constantly have to mess with that multiplier here. And that's under Edit, Editor Preferences. That's not the project preferences, editor preferences. And then over here, I think under viewports, under level editor viewports, there's something, and I always have to see where that is. I think, is it advanced here? Yes, it's the use distance scaled camera speed. If you enable that, then it'll base it on the size of the object. So that's kind of nice. There's also orbit camera around selection that you can try that out. Some people find that useful, some people don't. So that's kind of nice. But something else I wanted to show you, and that is about moving and rotating objects. So we've already discussed W, E, and R switches these things, particularly Q, W, E, and R, switches between these bits and pieces around here. Or you can press the space bar to toggle them. If you go and left click and drag either of these arrows, then of course the object moves in that direction. But sometimes they're difficult to reach, like my x-axis is at the back and it's really tricky to reach. Well, there is a funky feature for that, and that is if you hold down Control and then left click and drag, then the object moves along the x-axis. Likewise, if you hold down Control and then right click and scroll or go left and right, then the object moves around the y-axis. So X is the left mouse button, Y is the right mouse button. And then if you hold down Control, left and right together, we go and do this up and down. So that is quite cool because it works in all these manipulators. It's always like Control, left click is X, Control, or red, Control right click is green, and then Control, both mouse buttons is blue. So if I go switch to the rotation, I can do this, and that's kind of cool because I don't have to worry about where is my cursor in relation to something else. I can just go and do this, or both of them, and then it does this. So it's kind of cool for level building. It's not something I practice very much, but it's it certainly works. Also works with scale on most objects. So one of those things. And that is, I think, all I have. Oh yeah, one other thing, snapping. Snapping is good. Left click and drag. You can see it kind of snaps the cube in increments, and that is up here. You can either set the amount of snapping there is, like, set it to 50. This is kind of good if you're putting things together that are meant to go in, so many increments, like, larger level tiles. They're often like 500 or 1000. Or you can switch it off by clicking on this icon, and then you can smooth move this thing. And that happens independently for transform, rotation, and scale. One other thing, while we're so neatly together, let me go and rotate the cube around like this. Unreal Engine can also show you the manipulator between the local and the world rotational axis. And that is this little object here. So you can go and switch that, and then you can see the manipulator changing, and that'll be world versus local rotational axis. That is it. What is this? I don't know. That is all I have. And now we're going to build that scene. Happy weekend indeed. Happy weekend. Okay, I think I'm going to go and start with a brand new level here. Basic level. Save everything because I think we've done marvelous work. Remove the sky sphere because nobody wants it. And I might just leave the light as it is for now. And I'm going to start by bringing in my ultra dynamic sky lighting so that I can get started with that right away. So that is another product. Ultra dynamic sky. I've used that for the Venice scene. And thank you, Brian, for the wonderful comment. You're right. It really came together really well. This is Foggy bench. I had to render that 5 times, and you can never really predict where the people will be because they're all kind of randomly generated in the places. And the 4th time it came out really, really nicely. And then I made a change to add more foliage in because I thought, yeah, more flowers and more trees and all that looks really nice. So I did that, but that meant that it was, I'll delete all the default lights here, bring this one in, ultra dynamic sky. But that then meant that although the environment looked good, the distribution of the people didn't look great. So I was thinking, what am I going to do now? And it turns out that I actually used most of version 5, but some of version 4, particularly the beginning. So I mixed that together, and as the bridge comes by, there's a soft wipe that follows. So we wouldn't actually see that. Yes, but it's wonderful to see all these things in action, all the stuff we've been working so hard on. So very nice. That's that. And then we're also going to bring in the ultra dynamic weather. And then we can, tune a bit of fog on and all that, or rain as this example shows. So weather, we'll put that in here as well. Maybe put that slightly further above. And then we'll put these two guys into lighting, because that's now our lighting system. There we go. I don't actually want it to rain. I mean, maybe later, but for now, let's go and switch this to perhaps not clear sky. That's a bit bright. I think I'm going to go and use cloudy. Cloudy is good. And I think because I want to animate time later on, I think I might make use of the cloud speed multiplier later. So I'm going to go and do something like this, and that's going to be a fast moving sky. And then with that, this is the other thing I want to check out. Where is our sun? So sun appears to be here. Let me go back to clear sky so I can see where it travels. So the idea is that we're gonna, this is now on the sky thing again. The idea is that I want to see where the sun goes. So it kind of sets and goes, and I'm hoping to have that in the background. So I would imagine it starts somewhere here. So if I go to 600, it probably goes and starts right here. So that's good to know. Starts right here, and then we have 630, 650, 680, 700. That's where it goes. So if I animate this parameter later, the whole lighting situation is going to change, and then eventually it's going to be 1400, so it'll be like somewhere over here. I don't know if I can show everything, or if I wanted to show just the sunset rather than the sunrise. So we'll figure that out. Whoops, it's 1800. That's where it's set. So maybe I'm going to be in for the sunset rather than the sunrise. I don't know yet. So maybe my lake needs to be facing kind of this way. That'd be good to know. So opposite of the Y. Just making sure we're putting the things into the correct places. And then I think at 3 in the morning, we should also see the moon. So the moon also behaves like that. We can bring out the sky a bit more, the stars. Okay, but that's the general direction. I like it. So let it be 9 o'clock in the morning. And then we'll add some clouds to that. And I think the first thing we'll do is use the landscape I was talking about. This is just my basic floor, so I don't need that. Oh, save level. Good point. Foggy bench V1, just in case I make changes. Hey, Nancy's Art, welcome back. Good to see you again. Twice in one day. We must stop meeting like this. Chicarones. Those are the pork scratchings, right? I've never tried pineapple meat, to be honest. Oh, is it? I don't know what that is, but it sounds good. The low carb as well. Chicarones. Chicarones. Pedro's favorite snack, apparently, from what I understand. So let me start with the landscape then. I'm thinking that our lake, so our scene is going to be kind of here, and all this is going to be lake, and there's going to be some trees in the far background. So maybe lake is kind of here. I don't think I'll see the whole lake. I don't know yet, but that's the plan. I think, is that going to be enough? 31, 63 might be. I'm going to go 31. I'm going to go with 31, and we have layers enabled. That's perfect. Good stuff. So that's that. And now I can go and sculpt in the lake. Maybe with a much larger brush. I think 8,000 is the largest you can make it. And then I think with Shift, I can go and make a ditch in here. Now this is our floor. Maybe 8,000 is a bit large. So 2048 might have been just the ticket. Whoops. It's a deep lake, you know. Yes, I'm hoping this is going to be enough for that. I think I want to have that a bit steeper. And then a bit a bit stronger. I could probably sculpt with an alpha. That would make really nice crevices like that, but you know, alas. I do not have one at hand. So our character is going to be sitting here on a bench, and then he's going to look over all this. This is the idea. That's the idea. And where this floor thing is, that's going to be where the water is. This is all water. And then because nobody likes a perfect landscape, I'm going to make it a little bit bumpier here. And this is going to be trees, so we're probably not going to see much of that. That here, I think I might leave it a little bit unbumpy. There. And because that doesn't look great, we can go and smooth this out with larger brush. There, and then we can always go and fiddle with this as we need it. Put more or less bumps in there if we want, and that should be that for the landscape. Okay, so I think I might actually keep the floor around and literally turn it into the water surface. I think that might be an idea. Let's start by giving our landscape some good looking material here from the meadow landscape materials, and maybe just ground overview. Or there's meadow grass. We'll try both. That's the overview. That might be a little dark. So imagine us drawing all kinds of foliage onto there. This is where the detail is now. Versus meadow grass. Yeah, that's a bit better. We'll have something like this. I like it, I like it. And since we've talked about bookmarks, this could be one of those bookmark situations. So Control 1, because this is probably where I'm going to shoot from. And then maybe I need another one to show me that from here. That could be Control 2. So this is a great situation for bookmarks. So I can go and just keep looking at my scene from different angles. I think that might be kind of nice. If I have another camera perspective, I can just go put that on there. We could call it Lady of the Lake. Then there needs to be a lady in there then, though. Very funny. We could call it, whoops, we could call it Lady of the Lake. Let me see if I can turn this into water, or if we need something else. I think it might be enough. So water, as I said, I'm not going to use this from the water plugin. I'm just going to use the materials that come with this. It also comes with a couple of meshes. There's clean water, and there is clean water with 2 translucencies, and there's pond water, and then there's some detailed water. Oh, that's nice. Let's try them both. So I'm going to go and put this onto the plane here. And if you didn't know any better, this looks like lake now. And there's some parameters we can change there, but yeah, that's a water effect that I kind of like. I'm going to make this deeper, and I'm even thinking of perhaps making 2 layers of the water. So another one could just be the pond water. So underneath it I have this, and then I'll just go and use that and then pop that into here. So they're both not bad, and I think them on top of one another, that might be kind of good. But then it might also not be, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. Let's start with one water layer, and then we'll take it from there, huh? Yeah, let's start with one, and then we'll go and expand this just by scaling. That's the plan, at least. And we can put some rocks around the legs if we wanted to, and kind of foliage and all that. And the only thing we're going to see is literally just this, so that might be nice. Yeah, I might bring this up a little bit so that I have land to plant the trees on. Yeah, let's do that. So back into landscape mode, and then just back with the sculpt brush. Make our lake a little bit smaller. Make sure the water doesn't leak out. No, let's go save before anything untoward happens. So hopefully the background we're not going to see, so this is all going to be trees. And we could literally start there. And also the bench, that's another thing that I want to put in early. So I might just go and use a cube for that. So that's our bench. Hello, cursor. Are you with me? This is, I don't know if we're going to have a character sitting on it, looking out at the lake, but that's, you know, that's the idea so far. Maybe this is actually Control 1. That's my bookmark. Square lakes, huh? Lake district. Where was the sun? Oh, the sun's behind me now. Did we now build this in the wrong direction, where I might have to go and turn everything around? I think I may have made that mistake. Yeah, if the sun is here, we need to have that the other way around then. Okay, fine. If we want to just leave the whole cube and floor. So floor is actually the lake water, and cube is actually the bench stand-in. And then we have the landscape. So all of these things together. Let's go and rotate by 180 degrees, and then we're okay again. All we need then is to update our bookmarks, and then we're good. Did the landscape actually rotate as well? It didn't, did it? It's a bad landscape, that. Bad landscape. No, it did. It must have done. It just looks very different from this direction. I suppose we weren't quite... Yeah, we're still not quite seeing the sun here, so I might have to go and do some magic light adjustment in a minute. Let me just go on and do that, because I think this is probably better, because I did like the shot here. Now let's see if we can go and do the thing with the light. So I think last time I discovered that the sun root can be rotated. Is that how we do that? Because I don't remember. No, that's not the sun root. It's going to be the sun itself. Is that right? Nope, that is... Oh yeah, that's the sunlight, but not the actual sun. So yes, that's not good. And the whole thing can't be rotated together, can it? Yeah, not with the sun. Huh. That's the problem, isn't it? Dang. Maybe I will try rotating it then, so that I can actually see the sun and the moon rise and set, because that is kind of dear to me. What would look better, do you think, a sunset or sunrise? If you could choose, what would you do? Would you look like would you look at a sunset, or rather look at a sunrise? Either of which would look... This would be the sunrise. This would be sunrise. And then sunset, just to compare it with that. They're both great, aren't they? I know, I can't decide either. Nancy's up for sunset. Let's have a look at what that looks like. Where that actually is. There it is. It probably looks the same. Would just be good to build the scene around that. So 17... Whoops, hang on a minute. Oh, come on. What do you think? Brian says he'd have to wake up early for the sunrise, so no. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So, shall we do the sunset then? Sunset, let's do that. Julia, Brian, and Nancy's are all in for the sunset. So in that respect, this isn't actually half bad. So we can go back to our previous location. That's going to work fine. Sunset, we're good. We're good. I don't have to mess with anything. That's all. Whew. That's good. Sunset it is. Perfect. So then... let's go make it kind of afternoon-ish and start by putting some of our background elements in then. This is sort of it. I'm going to start with a whole lot of trees here. So I'm hoping that they're going to be, that there's enough fog to just hint at them, but there's still clear enough sky so that we can see the sunset and the moon as well. Moon also, let's go and see what that looks like. So 3 in the morning, there's the moon. Oh, let's say 4 in the morning, that's kind of the moon rise and set. And there is something in here, stars intensity, so I'm going to bring that out so that we see a lot of stars here. Simulate real stars. Oh, that's nice. We can, I think there's a way for us to set a location. I think there's also the stars and the simulate the real moon. What happens when we enable that? Oh, there we go. Is that good? I can't tell. Manually position the moon, render the moon light intensity. Let's make that a bit more intense, because we do like a good bit of moonlight here. So also the moon scale. Moon scale, perfect. Let's make it larger. Yes, let's go and do that, because I do like to see the moon. Same with the sun, so I also like to scale the sun up a little bit. Sun angle is also simulate the real sun, so we'll go and take a look at that. So this now looks tiny compared to the moon. Sun radius. Eclipse softness, sun radius. There we go. We're going to make that big, man, big. Maybe not that big. Maybe like that. Yeah, maybe like that. And then as it goes to sunset time, that'll look nice, I'm thinking. Meteor simulator. Do you know what? A particle system can probably help out with that. That might work. Particle system. And if we switch on game settings, then the lighting is going to be adjusted, and we're going to have a little bit of exposure compensation. So if it's like 2 in the afternoon, then Lumen is going to recalculate this, and it's all going to look relatively nicely exposed at all times as we go on and simulate that. Nice one. And then eventually, you know, so the sky, the stars are going to move. And maybe the moonlight is a little bit too intense, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Yeah, I suppose moonlight intensity is now a little bit too much. There we go. It is still dark. And Lumen keeps recalculating things, so we'll see. So that already works pretty well. Let's go and start by planting some trees on a foliage layer in the background. That's kind of over here. I might do that in unlit. If ever this happens to you, that you're on the inside of a room and you don't really see anything, the light isn't good. This is basically like the texture shaded view in Dash Studio, and this is the lit calculated one. So this is like an unlit view in Blender basically. And sometimes that lets you see the geometry a little bit easier. So all of this is going to be trees here. That's going to be interesting because we need to have a look where they actually are. Roads, rocks, foliage, that could be it. Foliage meshes. And there's some of these trees. And tree stumps, they're more for the close-ups, I'm thinking. Yeah, let's have a lot of different trees, perhaps all of them. Just go completely crazy about it. Or maybe just the first row here, I might do that. Oh yeah, I might go and say make a new foliage mesh folder. So all of these guys, foliage. So I'll need to play with the settings a bit. I don't know how the density is going to look. If I do that, that might be just, a bit too dense on the tree front here. Yes, few too many trees. Few too many trees. Let's pretend this never happened. So perhaps 1% of that. That's still a bit too dense, even though we're kind of getting there. So like half of that, I'm thinking. And also the trees currently, they don't grow straight up. They're oriented to the object normal of the landscape. So they literally grow wherever the landscape points. And we don't really want to have that either. So Let's go and see where that setting is. Scale, oh yeah, scale, we want to go and make that a bit from, like, say 0.5 to 1.2, because the distance trees I don't really mind. Align to normal, no, let's not do that. So now if we do this, they're all going up straight. That's kind of what we want. And now there's also a scale variation, which is nice. Let's see if this is roughly what we want. Yeah, it is kind of, isn't it? We just need to have a few more trees to make it denser. So I want to have that. Really, really dense. This is a good third shortcut. I might make the lake a little shorter then. So we essentially go and increase the foliage over here. But in essence, we're getting there. Yeah, let me do that. Let me go and bring the landscape tool back up, and then perhaps it's like filling in the lake, this. I can also go and make the lake water invisible for now. Whoa, King Villain, thank you so much. Always a pleasure. You too, my friend. Thank you so much for dropping by, and thank you for your super chat donation. That is such a nice surprise, buddy. Very much appreciate that. How are you today? Welcome to the stream. It's protection money, that's what it is. It's protection money. Yeah, I like it. Thank you so much. I'm building myself a foggy little lake scene today. I've never tried that before. It's something I saw on TV as a little B-roll type cutaway, and I thought, that is awesome. I wonder if I can pull that off with mood and whoops, mood-wise and all that. And I'm just putting the initial background objects in. We'll see how it comes out. So that just needs to be a little denser, and if we needed more, there's always other bits and pieces and tricks that I can do. The easiest of which is to not actually use objects at all. You could use something like a concentric cove or something like a circle on the outsides of the outskirts of your scene, and that's just an image that you can project on there. There, maybe we don't want to make that paint density, make that a little less dense as we get closer to the lake, and make it a bit denser at the back, and then thin it out towards the front. And there comes a point where there's that slope and it just doesn't want to plant trees anymore. I'm okay with that. I'm going to put grass and stuff on that. I don't know if we're going to see this. Yes, we are. So I'm going to have to go and keep going all the way around here. And then also I can go and use a different camera angle for that. Makes me think we should have either maybe used the larger landscape, or make the lake even smaller. That's a possibility. There's also an option to to get a second landscape object in. That's also possible. Yeah, good. So trees are going to be literally all around here. I'm not sure if they, whoops, I'm not sure if they're going to be behind us as well. Probably not. But yeah, all around the lake, that'll be good. This we're probably going to want to leave free because we've got our camera to think about. But stuff like that. Oops. I'm going to just go pick a single tree here, any of them, doesn't matter, and then use the single option here. And then let me put literally single individual trees in here of whatever's selected. Just in case I need more control here. So some of these I'm going to take away again because I obviously want to look out over the lake. I'm going to do this with grass instead. I just want to make sure that this shot's going to look okay. Final pieces of the trees can be removed or added as we need them. Yeah, like over here, I think we have a few too many, so I don't quite see out enough. I have to go and make my brush a little smaller so I can go and take away some but not all trees. Yeah, I think I might put them in manually later because I really want to see the whole lake, something like that. I'd rather put some trees kind of here. Or single instances, something like that. That might work. We'll see. I think I might just move this closer to the actual lake. I think that's probably a good idea. So the bench is very, very close to the lake. That means we don't have to worry too much about showing the surroundings. We get a bit more room here. So yeah, maybe something like that. So cool shots that we could do like this maybe. So rather than be ground level, we would just show more of the lake and less of the sunset. Yeah, I don't know. It's tricky, isn't it? Difficult to decide because we can also later see the full reflection in the lake. So lots to think about. Yeah. So trees. Good. Trees. What's next? Yeah, exactly. We don't want the trees in the way of the view. We totally don't want that. Sheep, Brian. You know, Julia and I were thinking from now on every animation needs to have this almost Hitchcock-like item in the animations, and one of them would literally be the sheep that could always be like on the gondola in Venice. It'd be so good. So I'm thinking I want to add some additional objects before I start painting in the grass. Maybe something like rocks and whatnot. I'll see if we have something like that. There's fences, so fences, that might be nice. That might be nice somewhere. I can't believe we're still this far away from the lake, so this is not quite how I had imagined it. The lake is supposed to be much steeper here. That's then when a ground shot would work better, so let's have another small crack at the landscape here. And I'm thinking perhaps we're having a bit of a path and a dip here. Those trees we might have to go replant. Oh no, look at that. They auto-adjust. Isn't that cool? That is very cool. To make this bit a little bit flatter. It doesn't have to be like that everywhere, but I'd like for us to be just closer to the lake, you know what I mean? Oh, trees get replanted as I adjust the landscape. That's kind of cool. That is very nice. And then behind us, we don't really mind. And then all that over excessive bumpiness. Sometimes if you do this and you see all these weird triangles, just look away and then look back, and then everything's fine again. It's just a rendering thing. You just look away and then you look back, and then you see what that looks like. I don't know why that happens. But it's still a bit too bumpy, so then the smooth brush with, with not too much strength is your friend. Since we do see a lot of this lake here, I need to go and to do my best here as well. Man, it's difficult being God, you know. He did the whole planet in one day. Whew. He didn't have Unreal Engine, did he? He must have had a much cooler tool. Oh, did he? Legend has it. We shall call the sheep Waldo. Really? Right, Brian, and I need to go make a large purchase on the Reallusion store before the 18th of August, because that's when the deal runs out. I was thinking if you wanted to do this with our sessions, like Jay Learns iClone, I can reciprocate. We can do Brian Learns Unreal Engine, and we can do that on your channel. How is that? We can do the same types of sessions, same type of format. And I'll show you all the stuff I know about Unreal Engine. If you're up for that. Brian and I, for those of you who don't know this, Brian and I, thinking of collaborating on a series. I'm thinking of buying iClone because it has a really cool animation tools and it integrates very well with Unreal Engine. And I would love to use it as a kind of front end for Unreal Engine and animation. It's been on my radar for a long time, and I just haven't had the mental capacity to take it in. And now I have some opportunities in which it may come in handy. So I'm thinking it will be a good tool to know about, know how to use. And of course, there's nobody better than Brian to explain it to me. So we're thinking of doing this in personal sessions. We don't know if we're going to do this live or if we're just going to do Zoom calls just between him and me. And we're going to record it and then chop it up into smaller episodes in which Brian shows me how to use iClone. And I get to learn it. And that's something, you know, I'm really looking forward to that. So back to the smooth tool. Right, so now we can be closer to here. So all we need to do is make this. This is probably a bit. That just needs to be smoother here. Boom, perfect. And then this just needs to be further down. It just melts away, doesn't it? It just melts. Come on, buddy. You can do it. Cool. All right. So this could be our shot then. I like that. I like it. I like it. Oh, that's how it worked, right? Exactly, Twitter. What's that? The platform formerly known as Twitter is now just called X.com. And it works as well. So all the redirects work. X.com. Quite exciting. And one thing we do need, of course, is bench on ground. Also, we need a real bench. You call that a bench? Oh, this is a good... Oops. This is a good example of not seeing this. And we do that, and then we just go and do that. Maybe. Yeah, something like that. I can see that working okay here. I think we still need to flatten this out here. Landscaping. This is what you do if you don't have a garden, you know. You just go into Unreal Engine and do that. You just go and do your own gardening here. You've got to make sure the lake doesn't come in here. I do like how the trees just auto generate at the correct spot again. That's quite nice. So that's that then. Bit of smoothing here. Don't mind the bumpiness on the left. Okay, goody. Right, so before we begin painting the grass, let me go and put some rocks in, just so where we see them. So on the shore here. I'm hoping I can find some cattail as well. That'd be good. Make it a little darker so I can work properly. Let's see what we have. Oh yeah, fence. Did I say fence? Fence merged. Let's take a look at fences here. I'm not sure where they would be. I suppose there could be a little fence here. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe just a little piece of fence on the side. I think more rocks is probably what I'm looking for. These are kind of largish things. These types of things, I think they might be nice as river rocks. I could paint them as foliage as well, actually. No need to place them individually. I might just go and put those in as foliage objects around the lake. Not gonna indulge that man-child. What is he thinking indeed, huh? I mean, seriously. Who does he think we are? Back into foliage mode. So basically all of these rocks might do the trick, so I'm going to go pop them onto foliage here. And so now the trick is to only select the things I want to paint with. So the trees I don't want to paint with, so I'm going to switch those off, and all the rocks are now selected. I don't know if they're going to be too dense. I have a feeling they might be. So let's go and bring that down to maybe like 0.1, like a tenth of that. Still too dense. Still too dense. It's not actually changing, so I have a feeling there's probably something I'm doing wrong. Oh, it's because they're not selected. Duh. I think I've accidentally selected the trees and made them extremely sparse. Sorry, trees. And now this is not enough. It's easily fixable. That might be a bit too many, so we'll settle on 2. I also have a small problem with the size here. Some are extremely small, but most of them are a little too large. So I think scaling, I want to say 0.2 to 0.4, 0.1 to 0.4. Yes, this is probably nicer. And now the adjustment, this guy here, I don't think I want to, yeah, no, he's going to work, he's going to work. It's just that we need to adjust this. Align to normal is good, and the Z offset needs to be something like, you know, I want them to be dug into the ground a little bit. So like that. And then that could be, you know, the rocky shore. We'll see what that looks like. If it looks pants, then, you know, by all means, let's not do it. Might be a little bit too large still. Oops. If it puts the wrong stones, you can always go and delete that part and then just put different stones. Just in case we see stones. I doubt that we are, but, you know. Yeah, that's a bit too much here, isn't it? Very relaxing, this. I have to say, this is like the game already. Okay, so this is good. Now I think I'm gonna start painting some grass, especially in this near area here. And we're probably not gonna see it afar. I might just go over here and then all this area and then over here. Let's do that. Let's see if we can find some grass. That is in foliage, perhaps. We don't have cattail, do we? Oh, we do. This might be cattail. Yes, it's called the Meadow Environment Set by Nature Manufacture. This could be, is this, what does this look like? Is this like cattail here? Not exactly cattail, but I think we're gonna get away with using it like it, I'm thinking. I can see that working. And then there's variations of that. And then we've got bushes and then leaves. So leaves, that's another thing. I'd like some particle emitters, like, you know, falling leaves or whatnot. That'd be good to have that. And then flowers and short grass we'll do later. But I think this here. What is this then? Huh. Let's not use that. Vitas! Do you know, I have actually, thank you for joining the stream, by the way. I've used it in 5.1 and they've made some significant improvements in 5.2, but everything's changed, so I haven't relearned it yet. So one of those things. I liked it. You can literally, in 5.1, you could set up volumes in which you dedicate foliage and then it just goes, boom, there it is. That's the foliage and you just, you can re-simulate it. That's really cool. But 5.2, I haven't tried that out yet. It looked much improved. It's just so many, not enough hours in the day, as they say. Great. I think these three things, they're gonna be good. This one, and that for the tall, maybe also this one here for the tall grass. Let's go and try that out. Whoops. How about you, Vitas? Have you tried it out? And here it is. So all of these I'm going to disable, and then these I want to enable. And let's see how dense that is and what that looks like. No, density is actually not bad. That's not bad. I'm thinking this is good for like close to the lake type things. Also with the size variation, of course. So I'm going to get rid of this. I think I have to go and re-download 5.2, by the way, because this ball here, that's not supposed to be solid. And my system sometimes has issues with material compilations. And this ball should be like a translucent blue type thing. So scaling, I'm going to say 0.6 to 1. I do like the size, and we have a bit of variation here. So 1.2 there. It could be a little larger. Yeah, so just around the lake. This I don't think we're going to see. So I don't have to worry too much about this. Just in case if we do catch it. And this is then just background stuff, so I don't think we're going to see that here either. Do you know, I've had that with the water plugin. I was looking into the water plugin, and that looks really nice. Stuff you can do with that, but it's extremely unstable on my system. And I was thinking, yeah, that's not something, not quite ready for prime time yet. So I'm sure they're working on it. Hey, have you tried, speaking of those kinds of cool things, have you tried fluid flux as the fluid simulation? It's something that's on my list of things to explore, but I haven't had a chance to do that yet. Also, there is the cost factor, not to be neglected. It is ever so slightly pricey. I think they were a little bit too close to where we're going to see it actually from, so just going to put them back. And let's see what we can do with grass here. Grass, so this is mainly just for this area here. And grass as well as flowers, I'm thinking. These are kind of bushes here. Willows, that's not it here. Grass, meadow, this sort of thing. These guys I'm going to use. How long have you been using Unreal Engine, Vitas? Yes, when it says experimental, you know it's basically not even. Don't touch. I like that they say it could be removed at any time, so do not, for the sake of it, rely on this to be a production tool. So it's very clever of them to say that. I still need to watch that video, Brian. Thanks for sharing that link. Dude, come on. So those we do want to use, and then the other ones, man. What is that going to look like? Oh yeah, that looks like this. I don't know if I want the the white bits here. Maybe I don't want to use that and just have shorter grass bushels here. It's like this and that and that. Maybe that's more what I'm thinking of. This guy's still pretty tall. I think if we would just make it 0.5 to 0.8, it might work. I'm also not entirely sure about the material yet here. It might be a nice, kind of nice variation, and I'll just go and have the shorter tufty bits here. No, don't do that. No, don't do that. Oh, man. Dang. Dang it, as Chris would say. So just this in denser. That would be, that's my preference. Is that in denser for the rest of it? Also not necessarily on the bench here. We'll sort that out later. Yeah, this. Hey, maybe I'll use something greener for the landscape material. I doubt we're going to see it on here. Yeah, that. Oh, we might see it over here. We might just put a couple more trees here. Dude, why you no plant stuff here? Go grow grass already. He doesn't want to do it. Maybe we need to go and use single instances for that. Yeah, there we go. Don't like the bald patches here. Yes, this area, I think I'm going to go and put just a few more trees close to the water. While we're here, like, you know, you. There, perfect. Four years, wow, look at that. C4D Photoshop and loads of YouTube pages up at the same time, right? Yes, it's the only way to learn these days, isn't it? Yeah, it's quite crazy. I mean, Unreal Engine is such a cool tool and the stuff you can do with it, but like many 3D tools, I think it's always important to not see these things in isolation. Like you say, a good modeling app is a really good idea. Substance Painter also, that, or the Quixel Mixer, or Marmoset tool bag, something that can make materials. I think that's good. Decent modeler and modeler sculpting application. So I often work with DAZ Studio content, and that is really good, but I think when people only see Dash Studio and then only see it as the one and only application, that's when things go wrong. You know, Dash content is great, but you got to be prepared to put a little bit of work in to make it work in the situation that you need to use it. And that's not something that newcomers to 3D are. I mean, there's just so much to learn, basically, and so. But that's also why it's the hobby that keeps on giving, isn't it? So glad to meet you. Glad to meet you. That's kind of cool. I used to have two 2080 cards in my old system, and that was pretty insane back then. Now I have one 3090. Oh, because you wanted to learn Dash 3D. Okay, cool, excellent. Yes, so they've really revamped the bridge. So one of the plans I'm having is to get like a whole scene of animated Dash characters in and have them dance around with some animations for a little, you know, for my holding loop animations. So that's a plan. That's coming up at one point. So I think this isn't bad as a base. I still think this is kind of a naked bit here. I might just. Oh, it's not. It's a reflection of the leg. Oh, I know what this is. What we can see here is actually, we can see the underlying landscape. That's what that is. So let me tell you what then. Let me go and make a duplicate of the lake. Like so. So this is going to be lake under, so to say. I'll take this away, and with lake under, I'm going to give it that other material. There was another one that was in water. There we go. Water materials. This one here. No, not the clean. It's the pond water. Why do my thumbnails not show that up? Translucent detail. Where was that then? Swamp water. There it is. I thought that's a. I thought that was a material also, wasn't it? Nope. Looks like it isn't. Let me try one of them meshes then and see what material is on there. Swampy material. Oh no, that's that. Do I have, I wonder if I have, if it has something to do with the virtual texture blending. Virtual texture support. Do I have that? Enable virtual texture support. There we go. Let me go and do that and just restart. It could be that that's why it's not quite working. How are you getting on with Dash Studio then? That is also slightly tricky to learn. But like with everything, you get used to it, especially if you know 3D terminology and principles. Swamp water. See, now I can see it. Foggy bench V1. Almost worth making Foggy bench V2, just in case, you know, something goes wrong. So lake water, lake under. Let's see if we can find that other material here. I think that might be it here. Might that be it? Yes, perfect. So I'm thinking this is like the pond water underneath, and it'll now just look like this. Okay, we still see a little bit of a flat lake here. I think I want to just go and take care of that. Trees growing in the water here. Okay, not a problem. Yeah, it's just a bit flat. So if I go and just make this edge a bit steeper, we'll be fine, just fine. Yeah, just so that we don't see the light brown material there. I think I might just go and change it to something else, to something more green, or just bring just fiddle with the tint. I don't think it's bad. It's just, you know, it's a little light. So I might just go and change that. So this doesn't look, oops. There. It's as if the lake kind of extends more. Oh, really? Okay. I had no idea. How exciting, really. They use Redshift to import the materials. That's exciting. I had no idea. Yeah, Cinema 4D is something I'd know more or less nothing about. Interesting. The only bridges I've tried are the DAZ to Unreal, DAZ to Blender, and the ZBrush and the hexagon bridges, of course. Yeah, quite cool. So the team have made big improvements. So the DAZ to Unreal was one developer, then DAZ to Blender was a different developer, and now they have a team of people working on it that develop the part that takes stuff out of DAZ Studio, which is pretty much the same for every application. And then there's applications at the end of that then go and use this data. So it's like it's more of a cohesive team approach, but it's a ton of work, you know. Chris, how's it going, Mr. Chris? Woohoo! The Chris is in the house. Good to see you, buddy. Do you know, nowadays the DAZ to Unreal bridge works really well. It was rocky, and there's still work to be done, but it's it now brings characters as well as environments over bit by bit. Characters with clothing. You can fix clothing in Blender from Unreal Engine. So if you have a character that has a bit of poke through or needs other adjustments, you can send it from there to Blender, fix it there, re-import the mesh, and then it's fixed. So that's kind of cool. You can retarget the figures with the integrated retargeter. I think Genesis 3, 8, 8.1 and 9 all work with clothing, and they can be retargeted to use the Unreal Engine 4 and 5 animations as well as Mixamo out of the box. So that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. So you can easily make it your playable character now. And yeah, it's there's still some work to be done in regards to catching all the expressions and the poses correctly. Kind of works 90-95% if you want to bring in a pose on expression from DAZ Studio over to Unreal Engine. But they're working on that. So the without expressions or without poses is relatively straightforward, the process. Animations work in Unreal Engine, yes, absolutely. So the Unreal Engine 4 and 5 animations, as well as Mixamo, they all work on DAZ characters. So that is very good. I think DAZ animations also work. If you do have any of those, they also work. Yeah, so pretty cool. I'm going to make some, so the bridges are, the 2023 bridges, they've recently been updated. And I'm going to make some videos on how to use them and how to do this. So that's coming up, that's planned for the next month or two, probably end of August, beginning of September. I'll show you how to do it. So what's next then? Oh, it's 7 o'clock. So next is we could literally just have a quick animation and see how the sun works out, and then tomorrow we can go and put more details behind these trees here and just have something like a slope that goes up, either a second landscape or just a piece of, you know, something, so that we just have a little bit more stuff going out into the distance here. But I'd like to see what the light looks like. So if we just think of this as the bench, not sure if that's going to be a character or not. let's go and make that happen for the last 5 minutes or so, and make a new folder here. We're going to call this one Cinematics. Oh, one thing of note with the DAS to Unreal Bridge, 5.2 has issues with rigging, particularly with the twist bone. So the arm poses, they look weird, and that's a known issue only in 5.2. If you use it in 5.1, it works fine. 5.3 has even more issues than a 5.2. It's only a preview right now, but get this, if you're in the retargeter, if you have a retargeter asset, it's customary to make some adjustments, and they've just removed the edit button in 5.3. Like, okay, that's why would you do that? So you can't actually edit the reference pose or the target pose anymore. You go, why? Probably or something that is important. It's just not something we understand. So time test, I'm going to call it. I'll drag it into my level here, just so that it's here, and then this guy we can open, and let's say we'll do this over show as seconds. We'll do this as 30 seconds just for now. And how's Mr. Chris today? What's happening? What's happening? Time flies when you're having fun. Yes, indeed. Chris is streaming after me at 8 o'clock on his Twitch channel. Give the man a good shout out, Mr. Exclamation Mark Chris. How are your YouTube adventures going on? Is that, have you done any more testing on that? Chris is tentatively thinking of moving from Twitch, gradually establishing a second base on YouTube /Kick. Thank you, Brian. Exactly. 30-ish seconds. Let's go create a camera here. Almost good, I say. This is going to be JCam, and then we'll make it 18 millimeters, and we won't worry about we won't worry about depth of field for now. I think also 18 isn't quite enough. I'll go 12 because we do want it wide, you know. This brings up another interesting issue with the landscape down here, so I need to flatten that a bit. But that's kind of the plan. So flonk and flonk. Do we need it spawned? Yeah, there we go. That's all we want. Got the camera cut track. So now I want to track ultra dynamic sky, don't I? And in that, so I'll go and make a folder here. Move to folder camera, and then in here I'll go and track the time of day. So if we see this in 30 seconds, if we see, I'll try morning to evening first, like let's say 500, there's the moon, or maybe even 300. Oh, maybe even 100. Let's do that. Or let's say 0. Perfect. And animate. Perfect. Animate time of day from here to like literally the end of the evening. So 2300. Right? Would that be? Is that correct? And then as we do this, it should do that. Yes. If we need to cut out a little bit of the night, that'll also be fine. Watch you look at that. Imagine that in lighter. imagine that also with clouds that are moving fast. Fantastic! This is gonna look great! Yeah, so the night needs to be a little bit lighter for sure. And maybe I will focus on the day instead. So I think from sunrise, I don't mind the moon. The moon, that probably good thing to start on here. So that's kind of 3:30 in the morning, or even here. So let's say 150. That's a good start. Or 200, let's say that. Time of day, so 200, and then we do... Always focus on the day. Let's do focus on the day first. So let's say 650. Let's go start with 650. Oop. So 650 here. And that didn't happen. And then the end would be literally night again, like here. So that's 8 o'clock, so 2000. Oops. 2000. And I think because we really appreciate this, we're going to make it 60 seconds. And do that. No, I say. Like that. See what that looks like. And that was actually really suitable music that we heard there with that. Lighting, we can always go and adjust as well. We can let Lumen do its thing, or we can just adjust that as well. Clouds, I need to animate the clouds as well. I'd like to have a few more clouds in the sky, and them also fast moving ideally. And perhaps I'm going to speed up the day, and we're going to just elongate the part where it goes from night to day, and just speed up the rest of the day to make it more dramatic. I'm thinking. But this is coming together. I like it. I like it. Let me add some... Let me see. So this part I think is really nice. And then when we get to kind of here, it could be a little faster. So let me go and put a keyframe here that puts this at, say, 10. And then the next bit we're really interested in is 6 o'clock, and we're going to go have that here. It might be a bit fast. And then we go and make this period a little bit longer. And then I think 40 seconds is probably enough. Like so. I don't know if what that's going to look like. We might make that, change that timing as it goes and speeds up. And then it kind of slows down again. That's much better. So I really want to focus on the sun effects here. So we can probably start a little bit later as well. And focus on that golden hour. It's clouds, birds in the sky, sheep walking by, that sort of thing. Yes, and I think this is really the money shot, that when the sun sets. So I might play with the timing, that we make the night pass much faster and we catch the moon and stuff. And I'm thinking it's going to look nice and dramatic. I don't want to make it over 30 seconds because I think that tells a nice story in those 30 seconds. And then we can play it multiple times on a nice loop, and we'll see how we go there. But yeah, very cool. Let me try one more thing just briefly to see what this looks like with fast moving clouds. I think that's on ultra dynamic weather with cloudy. Cloudy, that might not look great anymore, but I do have... I can animate the amount of cloud cover. How's the speed going? Yeah, speed's good. So cloud coverage, I can say to make that 5. They can also all be animated. So if I like to see clouds in the morning and then not as the sun comes and sets, I can just move the clouds away. So these are all animatable values here. Everett Gunther. Very, very cool. Ultra dynamic sky. Yeah, so cloud coverage in the night doesn't look great because then we don't see the stars. So I think whenever the sky looks boring, I can add cloud coverage. And then whenever I need to show the sky, I can just go and animate the clouds off. I think that's how I'm going to do it. There's also ways to avoid the shadows. Yeah, like here, the sunset we don't really see because there's too much cloud coverage. But yeah, that is easily animatable. So we need to then go track ultra dynamic weather as well. In particular, the cloud coverage. Yeah, so at this point I don't want any cloud coverage. And same with this. And then we can have some clouds, maybe. I'll just try this out and see how this goes up until here, where maybe we're going to have less clouds. And then here we have 0 clouds. And here we also have 0 clouds. Does that work? I can see stars, but no, I can still, there's also fog. Oh, there's also fog and stuff that I need to animate off. Fog is another thing that's on the list of things tomorrow. So that's another product I have by William Faulkner. We can go and put some fog in the distance so that we don't see all the sky, all the trees down here. Or something like that. We're going to have a fiddle with the values tomorrow. Maybe meanwhile, I'm going to go and put this to clear skies. Yeah, so more tomorrow. Cool beans, right? That's what I'm thinking. There we go. Watch that golden hour. Yeah, fog, birds in the sky, wispy clouds. That's just like fiddling with parameters and seeing which one works best. Hey, my friends, thank you so much for dropping by today. And wonderful to see you twice, some of you, which is really nice. I will see you again tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And let's have a wonderful Sunday afternoon together. Have a wonderful Saturday evening. Don't forget, Chris is streaming at 8 p.m. on his Twitch channel. And, maybe I'll see you there. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.